What is good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and we're back for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. It is Thursday. It is Thursday. Thursday is a good day. It's the day before Hump Day. We're getting into the thick of it. It's almost Friday. Bag Fumble Friday. We're not gonna do it. Thursday, March 2nd. I'm finding you here. We're going to jump right into it. We're building on our financial structure. And so I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on credit and leverage. Because me personally, this isn't your grandpa's channel. This is not Dave Ramsey's channel. This is my channel. And this, obviously, is not financial advice. I'm just some idiot on the internet who's letting you know what I'm doing and how it's working. Am I getting ahead? Am I not getting ahead? So, we're going to jump into it. We're going to start this episode off with a reaction video. It's a very good video by Great Lakes. Great channel. As you can see down here, I've already hit the likes. If you are doing reactions, even if they're negative reactions, you're using someone's content, give them the like. And if you're reacting to people a lot, you should probably be subscribed, even if it's in a negative sense. This is a very positive sense. This is very informative. It's very short. And I think it'll be good to go into with how I structure my credit and leveraging positions. So let's dive right on into it.
Credit review. Hi there, and welcome to Credit Fitness Club. We're here to take a look at what kind of shape your credit is in, and to help you develop a routine to stay financially fit from now until retirement. Let's warm up with a few quick fundamentals. For starters, it's important to have a clear understanding of what credit is. In simple terms, credit can be any type of account or program that allows you to borrow money with the requirement that you pay it back. Consumer credit cards, student loans, car payments, mortgages.
Now, on this part, me personally, I do not do store credit cards. Store credit cards are terrible. If you have store credit cards, you should get rid of them. You should have no money on them. They're better served on a regular credit card. Store credit cards actually negatively, on a high degree, jack your credit up if there's money on those. Also, another thing that I would add is, as far as it goes with floating credit, I try not to float. I give myself limits on how much float I am allowed on my consumer credit cards. It's normally around $5,000. Since we're in the recession, I have, and these are blatantly arbitrary numbers that are assigned to me. I just don't like having to pay back over $5,000 in credit, nor do I like the service charges, because when you're floating that money, you are paying to have it floating. So the only reason I float money, generally speaking, is if I am putting extra money into investments. That is the only time. And I will shift over, and I am totally fine with that, because I understand when you're looking at the credit cards, you're looking at a percentage APR that you're getting dinged on. If I'm floating money, it's because I'm in a position to where I am clearing that number. So that does not affect me. That said, it is not good practice to be spending more than you are capable of. Like, if you're having to float your lifestyle, you might want to start looking at trimming back some of your lifestyle. A lot of people eat their entire paychecks because they don't eat at home. They do not pack lunches. I'm a huge advocate of that. It's how I keep from being fat. So it's just better for you all around if you're actually cooking real food and it's not processed. Generally speaking, the same amount of money that I spend on the weeks that I screw up and don't get enough stuff for lunch or don't pack my lunch, I have spent within a couple of days what I would have spent that week for lunch. So it does add up, at least in my world, because small amounts of money become big amounts of money when you're in the crypto space. And if you're doing your investments properly, it's just bad business to be tricking your money off because you're hungry. Like, that just sounds stupid to me. It's also sounds stupid to me to spend and have to leverage your lifestyle. I leverage so that I can invest more. And that's my thoughts on that. The other key thing here is I don't do consumer credit cards. Obviously, me personally, I'm a D student, so I don't have student loan debt. Guess that puts me ahead of a few of you. Um, I do not have car payment currently, and if I do, I normally with my car payments, I don't like car payments. It's just an additional expense every month. So when I do take them out, I try to get them down into the smallest window possible so that I don't have to deal with it. Every car payment that I've had, I've paid off between 6 months and a year and a half early. I don't like car payments. It's just expensive. So now that I haven't had a car payment for a little while, I'm really enjoying it. I am obviously investing that money and not having a car payment. It's nice. Mortgage do have that. I'm advocate of house hacking. That's what I am currently doing on this first property. Currently shopping around for the second property, stacking money for that. Um, I know that there is a lot of hubbub around pay the house off, which I do intend to do at some point, but I'm paying 3.25% interest and I can make a ton more money on that money not paying it back. So also with the way that my house hack structure is set up, I am clearing ahead. I'm clearing ahead 150 bucks a month. So, I set that up for me and my roommates so that way, they're in a good position where they can stack some paper too. I'm not selfish. Um, but that's one of those things where like my house is an asset. I am attempting to buy the next property without tapping into the home equity on this property. I don't know that I'm going to not be able to not do that, but we shall see. I've got a couple of things in the hopper to help boost this around because I'm also looking to get some side income. My initial inclination with the side income thing was to go back to Ubering, which would take up more of my physical labor, and I am attempting to force myself to not do that. And the reason I wanted to do that was to, stack more paper to get this house faster, to like get those things going. But I'm trying to force myself to find some alternative means. So we are looking into that realm currently. It's trying because my default with the way that I've been raised and the way that I'm wired is to just go do more work, and I'm realizing that I cannot default back to that low level of setting every time I run into a problem. Like I have to start expanding out. I have to start working on alternative means of income that don't require as much physical labor or as much of my physical time, I would guess, because like the Ubering, not hard. You're just sitting around driving, but when you're working 10 to 14 hours a day, driving's kind of hard when you're getting off and your brain's zapped, and it's just another thing. There's the additional liability of accidents. Like I'm trying to figure out something that I can do that's kind of a work from home, out of my home office type scenario. That's what I'm looking to build. So, you know, this is a feet to the fire scenario because I do not want to tap my investment money either. Which it really sucks actually having the money that you need, but it's in places where you've told yourself you're not going to touch it. So you have to stretch these goals out a little bit longer, and it's forcing me to get creative and think and start searching for stuff that I probably, we've been busy with the business, and you get home and you're tired, you don't want to do extra stuff. But this is forcing me to get in that headspace of like I am looking for opportunities. So that's good. But I'm a huge advocate of credit. That's how I use it. Currently trying to figure out how to monetize that. Where that's on the docket as well because I do have extra stellar credit. I've got a couple of ideas, um, but I'm either gonna have to start actually utilizing it because the way that I was brought up, obviously, I don't like carrying balances because then you're just a resource. You're getting taxed for that money at a high rate. But I built up a really good credit score just to look at the number. And so now I'm starting to realize that there's some other means with which you can turn that credit into cash. Some of the other stuff that I'm looking to do moving forward that are going to be additional tools in my arsenal, because that's what this is. Credit and your credit score are tools in your arsenal to build wealth faster. Not necessarily rushingly fast, but like it gives you some ability to make some different moves as you're going, which is why it's important to have a good credit score. So let's keep it moving.
These are all common types of credit that people use every day. Keeping your credit in top shape is all about developing healthy spending habits. Over time, those habits will help define your credit history. If you're new to the world of credit, don't worry. Establishing a good credit history doesn't require you to borrow and pay back thousands of dollars. You can start with something as simple as paying bills. Missing payment deadlines can negatively affect your credit, so always strive to pay your bills on time. Your credit history will be all the better for it. As your credit history grows, you'll be assigned a credit score. Think of your credit score as a gauge of your financial fitness. The higher your score, the better your credit. It's useful to know what factors go into calculating your credit score. We'll be covering more of those details in our next session, but here's one to keep in mind. If you have a line of credit, try not to spend all the way to the limit. Keeping your credit use at or below 30% of your available credit is a good guideline for helping to maintain a healthy credit rate.
Now, me personally, I keep my credit utilization at under 10% of my available credit most of the time. Like, I really try not to tap too much into it. I'm not using it to subsidize my lifestyle. I just keep building it out. Like I all it's hard to to get into the mindset of where I am now versus where I used to be, because I did used to utilize credit to substantiate my lifestyle, to subsidize it, and it got me into a mess. I got out of said mess, but after getting out of said mess and understanding like the pitfalls, and fortunately for me, this happened early, but understanding the pitfalls and what happens if you're actually heavily utilizing your credit, it's in a means to just buy stuff. Like if I would have been utilizing my credit in the means to invest like I am now, it would have been a different game, because like I would have had something to show for it on the back end, and like I would have, when I paid those things back, there would have been an underlying asset that was acquired that would have made that a worthwhile endeavor. Unfortunately, I tricked it off at the club. I tricked it off on trips. I tripped it off on vacations, food, lots of food. Um, just the dumb stuff you do in your 20s when you don't understand that this card that has magical money in it that you don't have to ask for or actually physically have can do. And so like I was an asset for the credit card companies for a solid decade, easy, 15 years. um so now, since I'm only using it to extend money to get into the markets, I only use about 10% of my available credit, if that. If that 10%'s on the high end. Like 10% is when I start dialing back, and I look and I'm like, oh, I bought a bunch of BS. I need to dial this back. Like, so that's one of those things that's a caveat. Like, you want to keep it under 30%. 30% is good, but like, depending on how you're utilizing it, and if you're paying it off at the end of every month, then it should theoretically, you should have no problems getting it under 30% of your available credit. Or if you have a lifestyle that, and say you only have one credit card and everything's going on that credit card, then one of the things to consider, like me personally, I have more than one credit card. I have credit cards that I have to cycle to just get use on them, because like I won't use them otherwise. Um, but if you're in a situation where like you have one credit card and you're banging that 30% mark, get another credit card. Your credit only goes down for a little bit, and the fact that you're expanding the amount of available credit will offset that. Normally, the score will change for about 30 days till the next cycle hits. It's like 30 to 60 days, and your credit score alleviates itself, balances itself out, or goes back up. Um, I normally, depending on what you're doing strategically, you definitely want to pick credit cards with intent. Um, the worst cards to get are Capital One because it bangs all of your credit bureaus. So most of the other cards, they don't hit across the board and jack your credit score up across the board because they don't check all three. Capital One bangs all three. You will have the most impact adding an additional Capital One card. If you don't have a credit card, it's one of the easier ones to get. It's like them, and I believe Discover is also pretty easy to get into starting out. But in all honesty, I haven't been anywhere like my utilities everywhere except Discover. I would go with that one first because you'll take less of a hit as far as your credit getting hit. Um, Also, you do not want to add a bunch of cards in a short window of time. Like I normally add, if you're gonna add a card, it's like one a year. Like get the card, use it for a year, and then add to expand your credit out. So that way you have some credit history, and that will also help provided you're making your payments on time, not carrying a atrocious balance, keeping your utilization under 30%. These are all things that'll help, but yeah, you only like looking back now because I have two Capital One cards, but I've had them for a very long time. Like those were my first credit cards. Like they're both about the same credit life. Um, I would have gotten a Discover card first, and then gotten anything else besides Capital One. So, but we'll keep it moving.
Rating. Consumer credit cards are among the most widely used types of credit, and each card can come with its own unique set of terms, interest rates, fees, and rewards. Before applying for a card, take the time to weigh your available options and choose a card that's right for you.
This also comes back to moving with intention. You do not just want to stack up cards for no reason. This is also one of the mistakes that I've made. Fortunately, I've had credit for so long that I've basically alleviated that. Picking out your credit card, you have to kind of think ahead. So like your first intro credit card, if you're just getting into the credit card game and like it's gonna be your first card, it doesn't really matter right now. It kind of does, but it doesn't. But like if you're looking to travel, you probably are going to want a travel card. Some of those require you to have better credit, so you're not going to be able to start off there. One of the easier ones to get into though is the Capital One Venture card. That card is pretty easy to get. Like it's a Capital One card. You're going to take the initial hit up front, but your credit will go up because then you'll be able to start actually building credit. Um, but picking a card, you always want to look at the rewards, the terms, if it has fees or not, if you're going to be able to cover those fees. If you're not buying enough stuff to cover the fees, you don't want to do that. You don't want to. A lot of them have introductory bonus offers. If you cannot afford to pay that back, you do not want to rush into those bonus offers because some of them are thousands of dollars, and like you're making up thousands of dollars worth of expenditure to not be able to pay it back. Like that's not going to be a good look. It's not going to set you up for success. Like you're going to get those bonus points, but you're going to be in the hole, and then they're going to tax you for that money. So like you got to be thinking ahead on your purchases to figure out like, hey, what's this cost? What's this? Am I going to be able to pay this back? Have a plan and keep it moving.
A primary factor to consider is the APR, or annual percentage rate. This is the rate of interest you'll be charged on whatever balance you carry on your card over a given period of time. If you plan to pay off your balance in full every month, finding the lowest interest rate may not necessarily be your top priority.
Facts. If you are a monthly payer, it does not matter. Also, these low interest rates that they are showing are beautiful. I have never seen interest rates that low, and my credits are over 800. So, I mean, they're out there, I guess, but I don't know who's getting them. Like, I don't know how to get them either. I might have to do some research and go down a rabbit hole and get me a low interest rate card for when I float.
Many cards also offer incentives such as frequent flyer miles or redeemable points toward gift purchases based on how much you use the card. Other cards might provide discounted car rentals or insurance coverage. Think realistically about how your credit card will fit into your lifestyle and your spending habits. And don't be seduced by perks that aren't worth much to you in the long run. You'll also want to be clear about fees associated with any credit card. Some cards carry a fixed annual fee, even if you rarely use the card or pay it off each month. Many cards have standard fees for transactions such as balance transfers or cash advances. As with any financial document, be sure to read all the fine print before signing any credit application. Okay, you're looking good so far. In our next session, we'll dig a little deeper to find out how to keep your credit scoring.
Okay, and so that's gonna wrap that piece of this up. One of the other things that I did want to touch on before we dip out and do the closing commentary is leveling up what your ideal of zero is. So for me, when I was giving my account minimums on the last episode, that was my zero. When I do so one of the updates for the expansion of getting my Citibank accounts going was I had my metric for the checking account of $250, which will be the zero for that account. And I've hit that already, which is cool. Got some of that tax return money back, got that shuffled around. So we hit that, and we will be opening up the savings account and getting that to its zero balance amount. And then after we get to the zero balance amount there, which that zero balance specifically is going to go towards an insurance deductible, which will make it my insurance deductible, which will make it $1,500, which the reason I do that is because you get a lower rate if you do high deductible. The reason people don't do high deductible is because they're not capable of setting aside the cash for it and actually having the cash on hand for said deductible. Me personally, I do everything high deductible, so that way I just save up the cash for it, set it aside, and just have it there if I ever need it, hoping that I don't. But if I do, I've got it. And then obviously if you utilize it, then that's going to make it so you have to bring your account back up to zero. But we will be starting this next phase, which is getting the savings account going, which will be adding a stack of stuff there. Obviously, the next key metric for the Citibank expansion will be across the board of the services that I'm using, which will be the bank accounts, both the bank accounts and then the investment brokerage account of $10,000, because then I'll be able to step that up and skirt the fees on the next tier checking account, which is cool. So like we're almost to that next tier. We're gonna make it work. We're getting there. But that's my update for that. But the thing that I thought was important to note on is when you have an account that you've allocated what the minimum balance is, that is zero, which means if anyone asks you for anything, you are broke. You are broke at the zero balance amount. Like, even though there's money there in your brain, you have to be like, oh, I've got $0. I can't spend anything. Okay. And that was my closing thought and update with the Citi journey to private banking relationship quest. So we're gonna do that. Oh, another thing. I hit my CashApp minimum balance for the opportunity fund. That's another thing we can visit. Hold on, we're gonna stretch this out. Gonna give you guys some bonus game. Opportunity funds, like having a metric amount with your savings. So I have a certain amount of money that I save, and then once it hits that amount, I move it into something. It's like this is either going into investments, like this is getting kicked over into a specific investing position, a bulk buy on crypto, a home, which in this case, that's what the opportunity fund is going towards. And for me personally, at this stage in the game, that fund, the metric for that is $10,000. So my goal was I was going to get 40% of that saved up in Cash App in a bond, so that way it gets a yield, it gets a dividend kick out, and that's what I'm looking at as far as that goes. Well, I hit the metric for how much I wanted to have on the Cash App side of things. So like now the rest of it will be saved in cash. So I'll have that cash on hand, and then as the time comes to deploy it, I'll start kicking that back over. So that's pretty cool. Um, now, now we so however that works. So like if you're starting out and you're just starting out, you want it to be like a sum that's meaningful, and you also want it to have some semblance of an impact, because like investing in small amounts is very hard. It should be done also, but like those big investments where it's like cool, like I've got enough money to buy a few shares of this stock versus like a piece of it or one, feels good. It's nice. It's nice. Like you feel like you're getting a leg ahead. And so some people, they don't like buying one stock at a time or a partial stock. Like I talk to people who are like, oh, well, I don't want to buy Bitcoin because I can't afford a whole one. Understandably so. Doesn't matter to me because money scales. So when it goes up in value, that scales as well. 10% is 10% across the board. 10% of 100 is definitely different between than 10% of 10,000. I will say that. So saving up and doing like a larger investment is one of the strategies, and like I do that, period. Like I still do my investment, but I always have like a little bit of money that goes into what I call an opportunity fund, and whenever it hits the demarcation point, which would in this case would be the $10,000, if you're in a smaller thing, it might be $100 right now, depending on where you're starting at. It might be $500. It could be $1,000. For some people with more money, it's $20,000. It's $30,000. And I intend to, if I'm on the correct trajectory, that opportunity fund amount should scale up as I am able to sell faster. Because like if you find yourself, if you set it at $100 and you set aside $100 into that fund every week, then that's not the incentive that we're looking for. You like want it to be like a task. Like this might be an amount of money that you're deploying once a year for something special. Like this is a big investment thing. This is a big transition. This is a move that we're making. I've got a big, very large investment coming up where I'm going to need some front money. For instance, a home. Or, hey, I'm trying to have like a kicker to where at the end of this year I'm starting this position and this is how much we're saving up to start the next year's investments. Like stuff like that, cash on hand. Like you think a recession's coming in, or you think prices are getting ready to drop on something that you might want a lot of, you set some cash aside. That's that type of fund. So with that, ways to support the channel: you can like, subscribe, drop me a chat. Actually, you know what would be interesting? Tell me what's your guys' opportunity fund number. I'm interested to wonder where the people who are watching regularly, giving me the great feedback, giving me all the compliments, are at with your savings. Like how are you guys gauging that? And I think the opportunity fund piece of it, like if you don't have one and you just came up with one, let me know the one that you just came up with. It's interesting to know where people are at. Like me personally, mine is $10,000. Like that's where I personally am at for the large savings, because I don't keep cash, period, which is, it's a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, because like I don't like having cash, period. Like if I'm gonna have that, I'll have it in crypto, but if it's in crypto, like that's already invested, it's already working. So let's have a chat in the comments about where we're at and what our opportunity funds are looking like. I like that. That's a good idea. So obviously, other ways to support the channel, you can look down in the comments. There's ways to donate, multiple different avenues. Obviously, everything that comes into this channel seeds in to help build this channel. Some of the videos will be like this. Like as we get better camera equipment, we will probably start doing recordings, like live recordings. Like, I have no problem showing my face, hanging out with you guys. I actually might start doing some recordings on my phone just as I'm out on my walks and whatnot to, you know, have these conversations that way, to put a face to it. Those of you who watch me on panels, though, you already know what I look like. I have no problem putting my face out there and saying egregious things. It's just over here, it's 100% educational. So I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily know that people need to see. Like, I don't know. I'm weird about it. Also, pre-recording versus doing live streaming, also a different medium, and I don't know that I'm good at that, so I'm gonna have to sort out how I'm gonna record myself, basically, is the gist of it. But that aside, thank you guys for rocking out with me. It's been really awesome hanging out with you guys. Don't fumble the bag tomorrow on Friday, and definitely give me a like, share this with people who you think it could be of value to, and hopefully we will be catching you this evening on I Seen Your Little Podcast channel for the live stream. Those of you who are subscribed, there will be a posting about it. We're going to have some more fun. We'll be talking about more stuff. We'll go wherever you want to go. Obviously, we went last week, we talked a little bit about finance and then got very tinfoil hatty and then scared everybody, but it was a great conversation. People were going hard in the chat. It was a fun time. So if you have not checked me out over on I Seen Your Little Podcast for the live stream, Guns and Butter, I suggest you do it because we do have fun over there. It's me in a fun setting most of the time. A little bit serious, a little bit fun. Anyways, thanks for tapping in. I will catch you guys next Thursday. It's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro, signing out.